On a cold night in March 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was walking home in Queens, New York, when she was brutally attacked. The attack wasn't quick. It was a prolonged 30-minute ordeal. The initial newspaper reports claimed that 38 of her neighbors saw or heard the attack from their apartment windows, but not a single one intervened or even called the police until it was too late. The story shocked the nation. How could 38 good, ordinary people witness a murder and do nothing? Were they all cruel, apathetic monsters? The answer, discovered by psychologists in the aftermath, was far more disturbing. They weren't monsters. They were normal people, just like you and me. And their inaction was a predictable result of a powerful glitch in our social programming, the bystander effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where the presence of other people makes an individual less likely to help in an emergency. Today, we're going to deconstruct the 3 invisible forces that cause this moral paralysis. And, at the end, I'll explain the one simple sentence you can say to instantly break this effect and get help in a crisis. The first and most powerful force is diffusion of responsibility. When you are the only witness to an emergency, 100% of the responsibility to act falls on you. The pressure is immense. But when you are one of 38 witnesses, that responsibility is diluted. It's as if each person only feels 1/38th of the obligation to help. Your brain takes a dangerous shortcut. This is serious, but there are so many other people here. Surely someone else will call the police. Someone else who is more qualified, closer, or braver will intervene. Everyone assumes someone else will act, and the tragic result is that no one does. This isn't a conscious, selfish calculation. It's a near instantaneous offloading of personal responsibility. Think of it this way. If you saw a wallet on the ground on an empty street, you'd likely pick it up. If you saw the same wallet in the middle of a bustling crowd, you'd be far more likely to just walk past, assuming someone else would handle it. The presence of others provides a psychological out. It allows us to remain passive without feeling entirely guilty, because in our minds, the responsibility isn't just ours. It belongs to the anonymous, faceless crowd. This dilution of responsibility is the first step that freezes us. But it gets even worse when this glitch combines with our powerful instinct to follow the herd, which leads to the second, and perhaps strangest mechanism. The second force is a social phenomenon called pluralistic ignorance. When faced with an ambiguous situation, our first instinct is to look at how others are reacting to figure out how we should react. We use the inaction of others as a cue to interpret the event. The problem is, everyone else is doing the exact same thing. Everyone is looking at everyone else for clues. Imagine you're in a room and smoke starts to pour in from a vent. If you're alone, you'll likely get up and report it immediately. But if you're in a room with 5 other people who see the smoke but do nothing, they just sit there calmly, what do you do? Studies show you are overwhelmingly likely to also do nothing. You'll think, well, no one else seems worried. Maybe it's just steam. Maybe it's part of an experiment. If it were a real fire, someone would be reacting. This creates a collective illusion of calm. Everyone is privately panicking, but outwardly appearing composed. And because everyone is misreading everyone else's calm exterior as a sign that there's no real danger, the group collectively redefines a potential crisis as a non-event. This is what likely happened with Kitty Genovese's neighbors. People heard a scream, looked out of the window, saw that no one else was reacting, and concluded, it must just be a lover's quarrel. If it were serious, someone would be doing something. So, you've overcome the diffusion of responsibility. You've fought through the pluralistic ignorance. You're ready to act. But there's one final, selfish fear that can stop you in your tracks. Evaluation Apprehension. This is the fear of social judgment. It's the fear of looking like a fool. Intervening in a potential emergency is a huge social risk. What if you misinterpret the situation? What if you run out to help in what you think is an assault, only to find out it's a couple loudly acting out a scene for a film project? You'll look like an idiot. What if you're the only one who panics about the smoke that turns out to be harmless steam, you'll be embarrassed. The fear of being judged for overreacting or making a scene can be so powerful that it paralyzes us. Our desire to maintain social grace and avoid embarrassment can literally override our instinct to help another human being in potential danger. It's the most insidious part of the bystander effect because it turns our own ego into an accomplice to inaction. So we are all susceptible to this three-headed monster of psychological glitches. How do we fight it? As a bystander, the solution is to be the one who breaks the loop. You have to consciously override these defaults. First, actively assume responsibility. Tell yourself, I am the one who will act. Second, break the pluralistic ignorance. Clearly and loudly define the situation as an emergency. Yell, there's a fire, or that person needs help. This shatters the collective illusion of calm. Third, ignore the fear of embarrassment. The potential for saving a life is infinitely more important than the risk of looking foolish for a few moments. But what if you are the one in trouble? How do you get help from a crowd that's frozen by the bystander effect? This is where we close the loop from the beginning. You must use a specific psychological technique to break the spell. Yelling, help, or somebody help me, is often ineffective because somebody is not a specific person. It allows for the diffusion of responsibility to continue. Instead, you must eliminate the anonymity of the crowd. Single someone out. Point. Make eye contact. Give a clear, simple command. You, in the red jacket, call 911 now. That one sentence is a psychological masterstroke. Let's deconstruct why. By pointing and saying, you, in the red jacket, you instantly destroy the diffusion of responsibility. The obligation is no longer spread among the crowd. It is now 100% on that specific individual. They can no longer think someone else will do it. By saying, call 911 now, you eliminate pluralistic ignorance. You have defined the situation as a clear emergency and provided a specific actionable task, removing the ambiguity. And finally, by giving them a direct command, you remove their evaluation apprehension. They are no longer afraid of looking foolish by acting. They would now look foolish by not acting after being singled out. The bystander effect reveals a dark and uncomfortable truth about human nature. But it also gives us a code. By understanding these forces, we can learn to fight them in ourselves, and we can learn how to pierce through them to save ourselves and others. This is heavy, but critical knowledge. Now that you understand the code, have you ever witnessed a situation where the bystander effect might have been in play? Share your story or thoughts in the comments below. And if this video gave you a tool that could one day save a life, hit the like button to help spread this crucial information. Thank you for being someone who seeks to understand. Stay aware and stay safe.